I'm Millie Weaver, and you're watching the Millennial Millie Show. Well, the Democrats are back at it again with more of their clown show, the January 6th committee panel that they've turned into a live primetime television event sponsored by ABC and produced by the Hollywood media complex. I mean, this thing's out of control, all right? We have tons of witnesses literally being allowed to testify with hearsay and uncorroborated testimonies, one of which today really took the show, offering very salacious claims, and that is Cassidy Hutchinson, the White House aide to Mark Meadows, a young woman about 26 years old who has made some pretty astounding claims. I mean, these claims are insane. She claims that President Trump threw food at a wall and there was ketchup on a wall. She claims that he tried to take over the White House limousine, or carjack it essentially, and tried to grab the wheel and then tried to grab the throat of the limousine driver. I mean, these are some pretty intense claims. And even more, she continued to make more elaborate claims saying that President Trump wanted January 6th to happen and that, you know, he was told and warned that there were going to be people there that were armed, and he told them, no, don't have the metal detectors. And the left-wing media is just eating this whole thing up. Definitely trying to slant any which thing. It's pretty disturbing. And we're going to be going through and breaking down the lies that this January 6th House committee has been putting out and broadcasting. And we're also going to be going into some other news, some Roe versus Wade updates, and privacy news updates, etc. So, I just want to say thank you all for joining me today as we break down the January 6th Clown Show. Alright, so who came out and they have already said these are not true. Why weren't we asked to corroborate whether or not what she's saying is true? So there are several Secret Service people that were actually there in the rooms on the day she was claiming that Trump was there speaking with his staff, and they're saying what she's saying is absolutely not true and that they're willing to testify to that fact. So that's going to be really interesting. Limousine. It's kind of a big deal that she would say he tried to commandeer this limousine. Was Trump sitting in the front seat? Because it doesn't make sense. I've seen people post some diagrams of this presidential limousine that's fully armored out, has bulletproof windows, and as far as I could see on the diagram, it says that there's a barrier between the driver and where the president and the people in the back seat sit. So it doesn't make sense as to how that could be factually true. And when you have the other Secret Service members saying essentially This is not even true. It starts to look like Amber Heard all over again. I mean, she's trying to make him out to be some violent man, like, oh, hashtag me too. I'm gonna claim that I was so abused and subjected to abuse by even being near President Trump. Is this Amber Heard all over again? While I'm literally watching this girl testify, I can see this smirk underneath her face. Like, if you ever sat there and you're watching somebody talk and they're trying to be serious, but you can kind of see like that they're actually smirking and they're actually really, they think it's funny and they're enjoying themselves thoroughly. That is totally the vibe I got while watching her testify, that she was fully enjoying this. And it really makes you wonder, is she doing this in some kind of act of revenge towards President Trump? President Trump has come out on Truth Social. There are claims that she's doing this because she's mad that she didn't get hired after President Trump left the White House, and that she didn't continue to be able to financially benefit by being part of Trump world. So, I mean, it is very interesting. Alright, so let's get into this. Let's watch some of this hearing here on January 6th so you can kind of get a feel for this girl. Of course, as she's being interviewed by Liz Cheney, the elitist scum.
Area only, but instead that people did not want to have to go through the mags. Let's listen to a portion of what you told us about that.
In this particular instance, it wasn't the capacity of our space, it was the mags and the people that didn't want to come through, and that's what Tony had been trying to relay to him that morning. You know, it's not the issues that we encountered on the campaign. We have enough space, or they don't want to come in right now. They have weapons that they don't want confiscated by the Secret Service, and they're fine on the mall. They can see you on the mall, and they want to march straight to the Capitol from the mall.
The president apparently wanted all attendees inside the official rally space and repeatedly said, quote, "They're not here to hurt me."
And just to be clear, so he was told again in that conversation, or was he told again in that conversation, that people couldn't come through the mags because they had weapons?
Correct.
And that people, and his response was to say they can march to the Capitol from the ellipse.
Something to the effect of, take the effing mags away, they're not here to hurt me, let them in, let my people in. They can march to the Capitol after the rally's over. They can march from the ellipse. Take the effing mags away. Then they can march to the Capitol.
Ms. Hutchinson, what we saw when those clips were playing were photos provided by the National Archives showing the president in the offstage tent before his speech on the ellipse. You were in some of those photos as well. And I just want to confirm that that is when you heard the president say the people with weapons weren't there to hurt him and that he wanted the Secret Service to remove the magnetometers.
That's correct. In the photos that you displayed, we were standing towards the front of the tent with the TVs, really close to where he would walk out to go onto the stage. These conversations happened.
Okay, so not sure if you guys can hear me right now. Can you guys hear me? I saw a lot of people saying there's no audio. Sound is fine here. Okay, so is there sound now? So I'm wondering if there's trolls. Let me see. I can verify and check this right now. Okay, so is there sound now? Okay, so trolls. I'm wondering if there's trolls. Let me see. I can verify and check this right now. Okay, so is there sound? Okay, so there might have been no audio at one point. That's possible because I'm in here kind of running my show by myself today because Gavin's busy with other things, and I did not turn that soundboard on. But now that I even have turned my soundboard on, there's people saying no audio still. Yeah, so I'm guessing those are trolls. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, I can hear myself. This is verified, guys. I'm wondering if there's trolls. Let me see. I can verify and check this right now. I can literally hear it. So yeah, those are trolls. All right, let's continue here.
2 to 3 minutes before he took the stage that morning.
Let's reflect on that for a moment. President Trump was aware that a number of the individuals in the crowd had weapons and were wearing body armor. And here's what President Trump instructed the crowd to do.
We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol.
And the crowd, as we know, did proceed to the Capitol. It soon became apparent to the Secret Service, including the Secret Service teams in the crowd, along with White House staff, that security at the Capitol would not be sufficient.
I'd had 2 or 3 phone conversations with Mr. Ornato when we were at the ellipse, and then I had 4 men on Mr. Meadows' detail with me in between those individuals and then a few other the bodies on the ground, just the Secret Service doing advance. They were getting notifications through their radios, and Mr. Ornato in one phone conversation had called me and said, make sure the chief knows that they're getting closer to the Capitol. It's they're having trouble stacking bodies.
And Ms. Hutchinson, when you said they were having trouble stacking bodies, did you mean that law enforcement at the Capitol needed more people to defend the Capitol from the rioters?
It was becoming clear to us and to the Secret Service that Capitol Police officers were getting overrun at the security barricades outside of the Capitol building, and they were short people to defend the building against the rioters.
And you mentioned that Mr. Ornato was conveying this to you because he wanted you to tell Mr. Meadows. So did you tell Mr. Meadows that people were getting closer to the Capitol and that Capitol Police was having difficulty?
After I had the conversation with Mr. Meadows, after I had the conversation with Mr. Ornato, I went to have the discussion with Mr. Meadows. He was in a secure vehicle at the time making a call. So when I had gone over to the car, I went to open the door to let him know, and he had immediately shut it. I don't know who he was speaking with. It wasn't something that he regularly did, especially when I would go over to give him information. So I was a bit taken aback, but I didn't think much of it, and thinking that I would be able to have the conversation with him a few moments later.
And were you able to have that conversation a few moments later?
Probably about 20 to 25 minutes later. There was another period in between where he shut the door again, and then when he finally got out of the vehicle, we had the conversation. But at that point, there was a backlog of information that he should have been made aware of.
And so you opened the door to the control car and...
All right, so given that we had audio issues earlier, which now appear to be fixed, I'm hoping, let's cross our fingers, I wanted to kind of start and say what I think was said when I wasn't being able to be heard, which is the premise that they're trying to argue here, and what they're really formulating a lot of this around is they're saying President Trump was told that there were potentially people that were armed. They were trying to go and attend his rally or his speech. And therefore, he knew there was going to be violence. Or therefore, he didn't even want to have the metal detectors there because he said, no one's going to hurt me. Like, you know, whatever, just let the people in. And therefore, that is their whole argument to say that Trump wanted there to be violence and wanted violent people to be there. First of all, the fallacy is that just because somebody is a gun owner, that doesn't mean that they have the intent to commit a crime and that they're going to be violent. I mean, that's ridiculous. Law-abiding Americans should not be being automatically assumed that they're going to be violent, or that if you show up somewhere that you have the intent to cause violence just by having your gun. As I recall, there wasn't a single patriot that actually entered into the Capitol building that was arrested that actually had a firearm. Was there? No. So this argument doesn't sit right. It's more grasping at straws. They have nothing. They have no strong arguments. And this is what they're just trying to bank off of. They are trying to push this narrative that, oh, because he didn't think that there needed to be metal detectors, therefore he wanted violent people to be there. First of all, in 2017, during his inauguration, it was a mess. It was a disaster. Why? Because they had so much security beefed up there. They had so many metal detectors surrounding the whole area where people were going to go and watch him speak in the National Mall, that at every entrance there were metal detectors, National Guard, police, everything. And it took people forever to get in. And what ended up happening was there was still literally miles with like 5 or 6 people thick of lines going just around the whole city. And a large percentage of those people didn't actually even get in to watch the speech, because as soon as the speaking started, the security there said, sorry, we have to lock all the gates. We have to shut the doors down. No one's allowed to enter. So a lot of people, there was a whole issue and people were really upset. They came all the way out to DC to see his speech and they weren't even allowed in. So I'm guessing here that President Trump didn't want that to happen all over again. Plus, the mainstream media during his inauguration speech, they took pictures, aerial pictures of the lawn there where people were standing during his inauguration speech. And they said, look at all these gaps. Look at all this space. People didn't actually support Trump as much as you thought. It was just Russian interference. That's why the election went the way it went. So I think that it's reasonable to conclude that it's likely President Trump didn't want that same thing to happen again with this March to Save America event he had planned on January 6th. And the logistics of saying, okay, no metal detectors, no mags, because you want to be able to fill up the space. You want to be able to let people who came all the way there from other states or whatever, make sure that they get into the event they came there for. I think it's reasonable. What I don't think is reasonable, that the Democrats can just sit there and demonize law-abiding gun owners and say just because someone potentially that wore a Trump hat and went there potentially had a concealed carry license or were armed, that therefore they were there to commit crimes or commit violence. That's not fair. It's more just demonization of law-abiding gun owners.
And Mr. Meadows pulled it shut?
That's correct.
And he did that 2 times?
That's correct.
And when you finally were able to give Mr. Meadows the information about the violence at the Capitol, what was his reaction?
He almost had a lack of reaction. I remember him saying,
like, seriously, what is up with this chick's micro expressions, guys? What is up with her micro expressions? Like, I don't know about you, but it's like she's trying to play like she's somber about it and she's trying to be serious. But her acting skills are about as good as Amber Heard's acting skills, and you can just see that she's actually so happy to be there. She's excited, and she thinks it's funny. Like, I can see it exuding off of her face.
Right. Something to the effect of, how much longer does the president have left in his speech?
Again, much of this information about the potential for violence was known or learned before the onset of the violence, early enough for President Trump to take steps to prevent.
Sorry. One more thing, guys. They talked a lot in this hearing about that there was pre-knowledge that there was going to be violence or that there was a credible threat. And they're using that argument to say that Trump knew that there was going to be violence and instead went there and had his speech, right? So they can try to get intent and try to get that he had knowledge that there was going to be a potential threat. But hold on a second. Let's rewind. Let's reel this back a second. Do you remember the whole time they've been saying that they had no knowledge that there was going to be any credible threat? Therefore, that's the reason why they didn't have security or the National Guard there surrounding the Capitol in the National Mall area. How does that work? I mean, I cannot handle how just they are openly contradicting themselves throughout these hearings. Open contradiction. 1 minute they'll push one argument with one narrative, and the next they'll push another argument with another narrative, and they will literally have contradictory statements of fact that they use to support their argument. And it's like, how does this work? There are literally contradictions happening here. If your argument that the reason why Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell didn't instruct their sergeant of arms to have the National Guard there and have proper security, fencing, reinforcements, whatever set up for January 6th, is that there was no knowledge of a credible threat. There was no knowledge of potential for violence. Well, wait a second. Now you're arguing that there was. Now you're arguing there was. And so you're also arguing these communications happened in the presence of Secret Service. Secret Service was one of the groups that had met with the Sergeant of Arms of the House and the Senate and the House Chief of Police, the Capitol Chief of Police. And they were the ones who made the decision based on the information given to them by Secret Service, FBI, DHS, etc., that there wasn't a credible threat. Isn't that interesting? And see, that doesn't work either, because I have tons of email communications of me being in communication with DHS, Secret Service, the DC Metro Police, right? Where I'm literally providing them that there are credible threats of violence and people trying to take over government buildings pertaining to the Zoom calls from the leftist groups, the Sunrise Movement, the Shutdown DC Movement, BLM, etc., pre-plotting and literally having an ArcGIS map that outlined the Capitol building. Okay? So there were knowledge. They did have knowledge of credible threats. These agencies did. Yet they said, no, we're not going to have security. We're not going to have fencing. We're not going to have the National Guard. And yet they want to now throw this whole argument on President Trump, saying Trump had knowledge of credible threats because there was an argument over metal detectors. Give me a freaking break. Meanwhile, guess what? If this isn't suspicious as all get out, guess who recently died? I mean, could you just guess? Take a wild guess in the comment section. Who do you think recently died in this whole story here? Who do you think pertaining to covering up that would really help Nancy Pelosi cover her tracks? Who do you think? See if I can pull it up so I can show you who just recently died. I'm not going to say it. I want to show you with your own eyes so you can believe it and know it. Here we go. Boom. Michael Stenger, the Senate Sergeant at Arms on January 6th, just recently died. Cause of death for Michael Stenger, 41st Sergeant at Arms for the U.S. Senate, has not yet been released. So the exact person that we would actually want to hear to testify as to what happened there. Because you really have to ask the question, could they charge Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell or the Sergeant at Arms for the House or the Senate? Could they charge them with negligence or failure to do their duty, right? The Sergeant of Arms duty, let's talk about that. What is a Sergeant of Arms, right? What is a Sergeant of Arms? So the Sergeant of Arms is responsible for keeping the House safe, and then the Sergeant of Arms for the Senate is responsible for keeping the Senate side of the chamber safe. So the Senate Sergeant of Arms would report back to, in this case at that time period, Mitch McConnell, and the House Sergeant of Arms would report back to Nancy Pelosi. And so they're just the messengers. Okay, a lot of people have asked, well, should this all just be blamed on the Sergeant of Arms? And I would say not necessarily, because here's the thing. The Sergeant of Arms' job is to literally take the orders, instruction from the majority leader and the minority leader. They're supposed to take the majority leader of the House and the majority leader of the Senate. That's who they take their orders from and the direction from. So it would really fall on Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell as to what happened on January 6th. Why did they not have any security there? Okay? So check this out. It says, duties of the Sergeant at Arms of the House. Make this bigger for you guys. As the chief law enforcement officer of the House, the Sergeant at Arms is responsible for security in the House wing of the Capitol, the House office buildings, and the adjacent grounds, under the direction of the Speaker of the House or other presiding officer. The Sergeant at Arms plays an integral role in maintaining order and decorum in the House chamber. So he's responsible for security, okay, of the Capitol. And he literally takes direction from Speaker of the House, at this point in time, Nancy Pelosi, which Nancy Pelosi has refused to hand over her communications with her Sergeant at Arms. Now, who's more likely to spill the beans? Do you think the Sergeant of Arms that was elected by the Democrats is likely to spill the beans if there's really something going on here fishy? I don't know. But what about the Sergeant at Arms that was elected and put in place by the Republicans and Majority Leader Mitch McConnell? Well, he might spill the beans. I mean, I would be very interested to hear what he has to say. But too bad we can't now, because he conveniently died. Isn't that convenient? And, you know, there are some people saying, okay, well, you know, he had a history of cancer, so maybe it was related to that. Okay, maybe it was, but I would say that the timing right now couldn't have been more favorable for Nancy Pelosi and for the establishment Rhino Republicans that, in my opinion, I believe they were the ones who set up President Trump, framed him. They were the ones that wanted January 6th to happen the way it did, and they were the ones that benefited from it happening the way it did. So, interesting, okay? Just a fun fact right there. And it's sad, but at the same time, these are the things you have to look for when you see these big hearings playing out, investigations playing out. These are the things you got to pay attention to. All of a sudden, the key witnesses, or the person who would have the information, just dies mysteriously. Very, very bizarre. Now, one of the things here is that so not only was it the Senate Sergeant of Arms, but the House Sergeant of Arms and also the Capitol Police all resigned after January 6th. Look at that. So it's almost like, I mean, the question I ask here is, did the establishment rhinos and Democrats, did they coordinate something and get these Sergeant of Arms to go along with them? Or
is there something these sergeant of arms could speak to about conversations they had with Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell? And then immediately after January 6th, they all resign, including the Capitol Police Chief, Stephen Sund. And we know from Stephen Sund's affidavit that he publicized and put out there for everyone, he was really adamant about there being National Guard there, and that he was really pushing that there needed to be more security presence there. And so his job was to coordinate and try to speak up the ladder to the House Sergeant of Arms and the Senate Sergeant of Arms. And their job was to literally just be messengers and people enacting orders on behalf of Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi. So very bizarre that Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell get rid of them right after this happens, and then Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund comes out, writes this affidavit, which really, I think, points to negligence on behalf of Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell and the Sergeant of Arms in both the House and Senate. And then one of them just so happens to die in the middle of all these January 6 hearings. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, folks. You cannot make this stuff up. It's just crazy. Unbelievably crazy. CNN is just gloating over the testimony of Cassidy Hutchinson, who to me looks like she's thoroughly enjoying herself. I mean, I'm sorry. She just looks like she's having so much fun up there. The stories she has are very salacious, very wild, saying President Trump tried to take over the limousine, the presidential limousine, that President Trump threw food at the wall in a White House discussion where he was angry about a media hit piece on him. She says that Rudy Giuliani had a conversation with her where he said, isn't it going to be wild? It's going to be wild on January 6th. Therefore, saying that, what are they even trying to go on? Oh, it's going to be a big thing or wild on January 6th. Okay, what does that even mean? Like, how do they try to stretch that into something? And like I said before, they have nothing. They cannot try to even prove. They have no evidence that supports any claim or iota of a claim that President Trump and his people around him conspired to do January 6th. Conspired to have people storm the Capitol. They have zero evidence of that. So what are they doing? They are fishing. They are having this publicized sham of a hearing, and they're trying to subpoena and abuse really the congressional powers and subpoena people all around Trump and get them to make statements so that then they can try to pull things out and, get people to contradict one little thing here or there. And then they have their own little people who are probably just people that were planted in there. And here they are coming out smirking and smiling and just making up a bunch of claims that even the Secret Service has said that didn't happen. Several Secret Service members coming out saying that did not happen. And she's just making up things that she's heard secondhand. She wasn't even in those rooms. So this is going to get really interesting. Now, is the January 6th House Select Committee going to allow these Secret Service members to testify and set the record straight? I don't know. That's an interesting thing. I mean, so far this hearing has been completely one-sided, yet at the same time, on the mainstream media news, the left-wing pundits all say, well, there have been a bunch of Republicans that have all testified in these hearings. This isn't about Republican and Democrat. This is not. This is about establishment and grassroots. That is what it's about. So if you want to imagine the dueling aspects here right now, don't imagine Republican and Democrat, because there are plenty of rhinos that are part of the establishment that are going along with this, and we're part of it. It is the establishment, the deep state, and it is the grassroots that's trying to take back one political party at this time, which is the Republican Party. So you had the grassroots movement being demonized because Kylie Kramer the Kramers, who literally prompted a lot of the Tea Party and grassroots movements in this country, as well as Trump and the patriots around him. Those are the people that were framed and set up. Okay, those are the people who they are trying to take out. So why am I not surprised of this picture here with Mike Pence shaking the hand of the Senate Sergeant of Arms here, the one that just recently died, conveniently, who was appointed by Mitch McConnell. And then here's Trump just kind of sitting there. But I'm telling you, this is about establishment getting rid of the patriot conservatives that are taking over their party. They were not happy about Trump getting in there in the first place. Not happy about it at all. So, I mean, this is the war we're in right now, guys. All right, so let's go to some other news right now. Just to let you guys know, I recently did create a profile on True Social. So if you guys want to follow me on True Social, I literally just created this today, so I don't have very many of these posts done yet or truths done yet, but I will be. So yeah, you can follow me on here at Real Millie Weaver, and I had to do Real Millie Weaver because apparently somebody already locked in Millie Weaver and Millennial Millie. So what's up with that? People being crazy out there trying to steal my identity, but this is my real one, Real Millie Weaver. Okay, so check it out. Follow me on Truth Now. It's just another social media platform where I am at. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Roe versus Wade. Man, the triggering was insane after Roe versus Wade. People on the left are literally melting down. And we know the Handmaid's Tale loonies that walk around with the red outfits and the white bonnets and like to pretend that they're under some oppressive thing where, you know, this is Handmaid's Tale. We're all going to be being forced to carry babies and be raped to carry babies. I mean, it's a pretty wild TV series and movie that they're basing all of this on. But now you have handmaids out there in protest, and they're calling for a sex embargo on Republicans. So let's hear this. Not that any Republicans would probably even want to hook up with them, but let's just hear it for comedic purposes.
Any person who is out there who is going to vote against your right to choose, your right to love who you want to love, don't sleep with them. They don't deserve sex. Full sex embargo against all these Republicans and these conservatives and these people who think that they have the right to tell me what to do with my body.
So wait a second. Are Republican men only capable of getting you pregnant? I mean, because I thought the whole point here was, you know, let's not get pregnant so we don't have to have abortions, so we don't have to kill our babies. But no, it's, oh, let's just have a sex embargo only on Republican men. Okay, I guess that means there will probably be less STD transmission rates amongst Republican men now. Good on that. I mean, maybe the country can do something to tackle super gonorrhea and some of these super STDs that have now gained resistance to antibiotics to where you get it, you got it for life, guys. That's because people just going out there being super promiscuous and treating the act of reproduction like a handshake, taking antibiotics, abusing it, and then these bacteria and viruses literally become resistant to those things. So these people are, I think they're insane for wanting to treat it like that. Like, oh, we're just going to have an embargo. What are you, like a sex worker or something? Like you just go hand that out to people like it's nothing. This is disturbing, okay? It's disturbing. And I don't even think the Republican men would be interested in these handmaid's tales and these wacky purple-haired crazy liberal women. So don't flatter yourselves, ladies. Don't flatter yourselves. How about you just get into a committed relationship and take responsibility? I mean, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Now, the Biden administration, the White House, has been promoting a website that's advising children about how to hide their abortions or their want for an abortion from their parents. So this is children, girls who find themselves pregnant, teenagers who find themselves pregnant, 15 years old and younger. They're essentially saying, hey, go to this website, abortionfinder.org. It's, being promoted by the White House. And on the website, it says, if you need to avoid involving a parent or guardian, contact if, when, how judicial bypass helpline for information about getting a judicial bypass. So, they literally have people sitting there on standby waiting to help these young teenage girls go around their parents and make these medical decisions and kill their babies, essentially. It's just the craziest thing. And oftentimes, these can have long-lasting health consequences for women. There are plenty of women out there who have had abortions, and it damages their reproductive organs to where they're not able to then have children in the future because they've been essentially damaged by these abortion procedures. So this is a really big health decision, and I just don't like the idea of the White House, the Biden administration, promoting for young kids to hide things from their parents. That's like what groomers do, where they condition people to hide things from their parents, to go around them and make these really big decisions on their own. There's a such thing as consent, and minors can't consent. They can't consent to these type of procedures. So it's just one crazy, evil thing after the other, trying to promote these young teenage girls to hide things from their parents and help assist them in abortions. Now, the Democrats are actually freaking out right now, and now all of a sudden there's concern for privacy. They didn't care about privacy before. No, when it came down to COVID-19, they wanted everyone to have these tracker apps that tracked where they went, that tracked if they were contagious or, quarantined or whatever, these tracking apps they thought everyone needed to have. And they were all behind. They were all for big tech, big data. They were all for the surveillance state when it came to COVID-19. And now that Roe v. Wade was overturned, now they're like, we need to reel in this data privacy situation here. We need to have our privacy back. Why? Because they're worried that some of these websites, apps, etc. could be used to target and be used in investigations into women that decide to have abortions and essentially kill their babies. So Planned Parenthood, they've actually started calling out Planned Parenthood because apparently Planned Parenthood is one of these websites that sells data to Google and other companies, and they're worried that this data could be used against them in criminal matters, criminal investigations. So all of a sudden, they're like, we need privacy, data privacy concerns. Now we care about our privacy, which, hey, that's great. Look, it's all because federal law, specifically HIPAA, the 1996 Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act, protects the privacy and medical files at your doctor's office, but not any information that third-party apps or tech companies collect about you. So that's why they're concerned all of a sudden. This is also true if an app that collects your data shares it with a third party that might abuse it. So most of these apps do share your data with third parties because that's how they make money. They profit off of your data, your information. The left has known this for a while. They didn't care, but now they care because, hey, we don't want to be we don't want to be thrown in jail for killing babies. This is insane. They're talking about the period tracking apps. Could the period tracking apps be used to see if if you've missed your period, and then if you missed your period? They're worried about these things, definitely, which I'm worried about privacy in general. I'm worried about data collection. But I find it kind of ironic that suddenly the left cares about data and privacy if it's them being able to protect their privacy now after Roe v. Wade. And if it means that they can kill their kids in the womb, then yeah, we want privacy. It's disgusting. They didn't care about it during COVID. That's for sure. And they didn't care about my body, my choice when it came to the vaccines. And many of them still don't. I saw some people out there interviewing people like, hey, You know, do you care about people's right to choose what's put in their body when it comes to the vaccine? No, I don't care about that. But I only care about my right to choose when it comes to killing another human life inside my body. Yeah. Speaking of the Supreme Court, which we know the left is not happy about, and remember, they had tons of fencing put up all around the Supreme Court building down there at the National Mall leading up to that because they knew that it was going to be controversial and that you were going to have upset parties and protesters outside of the building. So nobody was able to storm the Supreme Court. But I'm telling you, if they didn't have the fences there, they didn't have the police and security, they would have. Okay? It's just, we saw what even happened down in Arizona where they were literally launching tear gas canisters at these violent protesters that were trying to break into the Arizona building down there. I mean, it's insane. Now, Justice Breyer has sent a letter to President Biden informing him that his retirement will be effective 24 hours from now. So on Thursday, that is going to be the last day of Justice Breyer, who has sat on the Supreme Court for quite a while now. He took part in the Roe versus Wade hearing, but most likely he voted against it. He was appointed by Bill Clinton, okay? He was appointed by Bill Clinton. So he's likely, he's going to be replaced by this woman here. She is the one who the Democrats have nominated. She's been designated to replace Breyer. Her name is Judge I don't know if I'm saying this right, Ketanji Brown. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. So she'll be the first black woman and first federal public defender to be elevated to the Supreme Court. So interesting. So, I mean, the January 6th hearings, it's really going to be interesting to see if we actually see any testimony from people that support President Trump or support and that would defend that he didn't have something to do with January 6th. Because so far we've just seen all of the rats leaving the sinking ship, all of the traitors, or we've seen edited, taken out of context clips from people that were forced and dragged into testifying with these subpoenas. And then you also see Mike Flynn. Now, there's a portion where they show, look, Mike Flynn, he pled the fifth. Roger Stone pled the fifth. Okay, well, I'm not surprised that people are pleading the fifth. And just because somebody pleads the fifth doesn't necessarily mean that they're guilty. I don't know whether or not they had anything to do per se. But what I will say is this. I don't blame anyone for pleading the fifth in these hearings because it's a witch hunt. And my analysis, my thinking as to why they might be pleading the fifth could be because both of them were targeted and were gone after by the FBI, and they were heavily persecuted for having talked to law enforcement. And most of the time, law enforcement gets you on process crimes or stupid little things like that when it's clearly a witch hunt and they don't actually have anything to go on. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, that was one of the points that they kept saying is that, oh, they're pleading the fifth. Okay, therefore that means they're... I mean, I don't know if that's a good argument. They could be, they could not be, but that's not really a strong argument. Okay, so... yeah. All right, let's go back to some of the January 6th testimony here. See if I can find it.
In the following chat log that the committee has obtained. As you can see, NSC staff believed that Mogul, the president, was, quote, going to the Capitol, and, quote, they are finding the best route now. From these chats, we also know the staff learned of the attack on the Capitol in real time. When President Trump left the ellipse stage at 1:10, the staff knew that rioters had invaded the inaugural stage and Capitol Police were calling for all available officers to respond. When Republican leader Kevin McCarthy heard the president say he was going to the Capitol, he called you, Ms. Hutchinson. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
And in this text message, you told Tony Ornato, quote, "McCarthy just called me too. And do you guys think you're coming to my office?" Tell us about the call that day with Leader McCarthy during the president's speech on the ellipse.
I was still in the tent behind the stage, and when you're behind the stage, you can't really hear what's going on in front of you. So when Mr. McCarthy called me with this information, I answered the call, and he sounded rushed, but also frustrated and angry at me, and I was confused because I didn't know what the president had just said. He then explained, the president just said he's marching to the Capitol. You told me this whole week you aren't coming up here. Why would you lie to me? I said, I'm not lying. I wasn't lying to you, sir.
Okay, look at that face expression, the facial expression. I mean, her micro expressions are so just, they're blaring of how funny she thinks this whole thing is. So, I mean, do you think that she's really legitimately up here just perjuring herself, or is she trolling? Like, what is going on here? I mean, she looks like she's enjoying this. Like, this is so funny to her. And I couldn't imagine being brought in front of this committee hearing, put up on national TV, being asked as to whether or not the president of the United States had something to do with a coup or an insurrection on the Capitol and on their own government, and making these facial expressions. If you really did see something, I don't think you'd be thinking it's funny. I don't think you'd be like, ha ha ha. But see, if this was really about revenge or getting back at someone or taking out Drumpf, the orange man, I think that that's the face you'd be making. Like, oh, ha ha, this is so funny. I'm enjoying myself. Her micro expressions are just, she's trying to hide, laughing and smiling the whole time. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Like, what do you see when you're watching her speak?
We're not going to the Capitol. And he said, well, he just said it on stage, Cassidy, figure it out. Don't come up here. I said, I'll run the traps on this, and I'll shoot you a text. I can assure you we're not coming up to the Capitol. We've already made that decision. He pressed a little bit more, believing me, but I think frustrated that the president had said that. And
he pressed a little bit more, believing that, you know, da-da-da-da-da. Like, there's something here when she sounds very similar to Amber Heard, and that they both have really crappy acting skills, clearly. But it's just, her face doesn't match what she's actually saying. Her tone of her voice doesn't match what she's actually saying. Something is definitely off here. And it just, to me, screams Amber Heard. It screams that she's not... Look, as someone who, in my past, my Hollywood days, I've been very open about being in Hollywood, right? I took acting classes, okay? And I've seen when people are good at acting and when they're not, and how to recognize things. And, like, this is really bad acting. She's not an actress, for sure. But, I mean, it's just very off. Let's just say this. She's living untruthfully in the given imaginary circumstance.
after that, I called Mr. Ornato to reconfirm that we weren't going to the Capitol, and which is also in our text messages. I sent Mr. McCarthy another text telling him the affirmative that we were not going up to the Capitol, and he didn't respond after that.
And we understand, Ms. Hutchinson, that the plans for the president to come up to the Capitol had included discussions at some point about what the president would do when he came up to the Capitol on January 6th. Let's look at a clip of one of your interviews discussing that issue with the committee.
when you were talking about a scheduled movement, did anyone say what the president wanted to do when he got here?
No. Not that I can specifically remember. I remember hearing a few different ideas discussed between Mark and Scott Perry, Mark and Rudy Giuliani. I don't know which conversations were elevated to the president. I don't know what he personally wanted to do when he went up to the Capitol that day. I know that there were discussions about him having another speech outside of the Capitol before going in. I know that there was a conversation about him going into the House chamber at one point.
As we've all just...
I think it's pretty wild that they're putting up just this girl's testimony, which is mostly consisting of hearsay. I mean, it's mostly hearsay. And why is that allowed to stand? This is something that would never be even presented in a court because it's clearly hearsay. Like she's saying, "Oh, I heard so and so said this," or I might have heard that, or I mean, it's hearsay. We don't have any evidence. Like, can she present some text messages, present more written communications? Like some of the messages, sure, she presented and they showed here, but they were very basic and they didn't say anything about plates being thrown at the wall and ketchup dripping on it, or someone being attacked or assaulted over the limousine, the presidential limousine, or I mean, half the crazy wild stories she tells are just her word versus who knows. And we don't even get to hear from the Secret Service members that are now coming out saying, we can totally prove that she's perjuring herself. None of that happened. And she's speaking to literally rumors and things that she heard to be true, as though it's first person. So I just think it's pretty clear that the reason why this is even being heard, that the reason why you're allowed to even hear this, is because this whole thing is a clown show. It's a clown show. I mean, look at this screenshot here, this image here. You see this girl sitting here just with this little deviant smirk on her face as she's talking just outlandish claims and baloney. And then you see just this row of photographers. Look at that. They're all just sitting there taking all the pictures, capturing the media. We've got ABC, prime time. You've got all the mainstream media covering this thing. This is a clown show. This is a clown show. And notice in a regular hearing, you'd see a desk here with one side and then another desk with a defense. There's no defense. They're not allowing any defense in this clown show hearing. It's very one-sided. Very one-sided. It'd be like, imagine if Amber Heard was like given this platform in Congress and was able to just smear Johnny Depp, right? I know a lot of people reference to talk about the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp thing. It was a big deal. She was pulling some hashtag #MeToo stunt, got sued over it, lost, whatever, right? But the whole point of me bringing it up is, imagine if she had just this platform through Congress and they aided and abetted a bunch of false baloney testimony and allowed a one-sided hearing to play out and never gave the defense any ability to speak. I mean, it's disturbing. It's an abuse of power. This is a congressional abuse of power. And hopefully people in America are fed up. People get out there in massive numbers and vote. And hopefully it's such a huge red wave that they can't even predict it with their predictive analytics, and they don't even have the fake ballots to try to stuff. Let's just say that. Hopefully we can literally just turn out in such a large way that they weren't expecting. That's what I'm hoping. I'm also hoping that they don't try to do another second pandemic in order to justify some of the illegal voting laws or measures that they allowed to take. It wasn't laws, but the illegal voting measures they allowed to take place in the 2020 election. Let's not let them go along with this narrative. If they try to do a second pandemic, shut everything down, force vaccines on school kids and preschool age kids, let's just all say, you know what? We're not going to wear the mask. We're not going to do it. Let's all just not, okay? No more capitulating. No more just going along with it to go along with it. I'm ready for confrontation in that if I go to the grocery store in this fall and they try to say to me, oh, we have a second pandemic, we're not letting you in without a mask. I'm just walking in without the mask on. Okay? I'm no longer going to consent to my rights being violated in the name of phony baloney pandemics that have extremely low mortality rates so that vaccine manufacturers can make billions and trillions of dollars. I'm not consenting to that. And I hope you don't either. Because I'm over it. I don't know about you, but I'm over it. And our economy cannot handle that. Joe Biden has said, oh, there's going to be a second pandemic we got to get more money for. They just want to keep printing more money to destabilize our economy, collapse America, so then they can take away our country and try to build up a new world order, a new global government where they can have communism and all socialism and everything else they think's going to pan out. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy to actually see and research and have heard their plans and then to actually see it coming into real life right in front of you. You know what I mean? And the thing that's alarming the most to me is how so many people they're in denial. They're in denial, like, oh, it'll never happen, or oh, that's not happening, or that's not the case. And then there are some people that actually are paying attention and are awake, and they don't walk into the meat grinder per se, right? But we really need to figure out something. We need to figure out a way to start waking up those other sheeple, because the problem is there's so many of them. There's a good amount of us, but there's a lot of them too. And if they decide to walk off the cliff and they're dragging us along with them, we're in a lot of trouble. It's kind of like this. Have you ever been in a really big crowd, really big mob of people? And if the group starts moving or running, guess what? You have to start moving and running too. Otherwise, you're going to get stampeded. You're going to get run over, right? So if the powers that be are able to convince the masses and scare them to all go running in this direction, if we can't get people to wake up and not get, scared into something, we're all going to go off that cliff together. So yeah, I mean, we got to do a lot of work here as custodians almost of our nation, of our country. And we have to start sharing information. We have to start speaking out. I've seen more and more people speaking out, which is great. But we need more people than that. And I think a lot of people are just scared, or they feel like, oh, I could never do what you're doing, or I could never speak. I'm not good at speaking, or I'm not this. No, you are. Like, you are good enough. Just get out there and start speaking. And get out there and share information. Show up. I mean, there's things you can do. Everyone's very valuable in that, especially as numbers, we can all massively make huge movements and strides if we work together as a team and we work together in numbers. Okay? That's clearly what the establishment's worried about. They do not like when we all get together and we make big moves. Like what happened with the trucker freedom convoy, right? Look how many people got behind them and raised all that money. And I mean, they were scared. The establishment was terrified because they were losing control. They were losing power. And so that's what they don't like. Definitely. They don't like when we all start organizing and start moving together, and people financially support groups or organizations. They don't like that. Okay? Especially if it goes against their narrative. without a doubt. There's the false appearance in this country of many options, that you have all these options. But everything, almost everything, these big corporations, right? Big name brands, media organizations, pharmaceutical companies, they are large in part put out there to be publicly traded and sold, and mostly bought up. It's like the second they go public, they get bought up by BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street Capital, etc. There's like a handful of those private investor hedge funds that they control and own stake in mostly all the big companies. So a lot of people are like, well, I don't understand how social media would have anything to do with big pharma or with the movie industries in Hollywood or the media companies or these other corporations like Walmart, right? How do they all have something to do with each other? Well, when you actually start looking at who owns the largest shares in these companies, it becomes very apparent what's going on here. And they only want to let things happen or become big in a system where they control it, right? So a couple things slip through the cracks here and then, but then there's a lot of attempts from them to try to take things out. Like we learned that with starting up with QUX, right? The more we pushed for QUX, it was like we were just being attacked left and right, attacked by the media, attacked by bank activism, attacked in any which facet by these only thing I can describe it as is literally like intelligence assets coming at us left and right. Okay? It's been an insane journey, but QUX isn't giving up. QUX is only growing stronger because of you, because the people are supporting it. The people are getting behind it. I mean, it is growing, and it's really exciting to see. And that just speaks to what happens when people start to just say, you know what, I've had enough. I've had enough of being spied on. I've had enough of being controlled. I've had enough of being spoon-fed their baloney and their lies. You know what? I feel like we're in Plato's cave. Do you guys know the story of Plato's cave? Plato's cave, I'll show you. There's some pretty good images and pictures out there. The allegory of Plato's cave. And this really, when you see it, it paints a good picture of what is going on here. Especially with the fake news media. So, notice you have the slaves here, and they're all just chained up, and they're being shown images on the wall to keep them complacent, really. And all they know is the images on the wall. That's all that exists to them. They've literally never seen the rest of the world. They've never seen the potential. They never explored. They don't know what exists out there. They just see what the controllers show them, right? So there's the fire and the people that hold the little items and walk back and forth. And really and truly, these people that walk back and forth and hold these are like the Hollywood celebrities, the politicians that are in on it with the establishment, the mainstream media pundits like CNN, Brian Stelter, those type people. They walk around and they hold the silhouette, the little image that then gets reflected onto the wall, and that's all the people see. And then, of course, there's the rest of the world, right? And so I feel like what we're dealing with in society is largely the allegory of Plato's cave. I think this one's a really good one, too. Because, like, look, you've got almost like the bird, the Twitter bird, who remind me of Twitter. And everyone's like, oh, that's all there is. That's all there is. That's what we're going to stare at. That's all there is. Right? And then there's the few that actually get unchained. They unchain themselves and they walk out They walk out and they go see the rest of the world. So there's the fire, the roadway, right? It shows you this whole setup here, which is all a big analogy. It's an allegory for how people can be controlled. And this is why, it's interesting. It's like the shadow government, because they're the ones that are the ones ensuring that the shadows still remain on the wall. Ensuring that we're all still just kept there. Kept as good little slaves that churn out work for them. And so here I am up here. Here I am up here, this image here. And I think a lot of you guys are up there with me. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, someone removed it. Okay, let's just zoom in here. Okay, so here's you guys with me. This is us, and we're like, hey, we see the rest of the world, we see the possibilities, we know what's really going on here. But then there's these people here who are the sheeple, the lemmings, the people that are unwilling to believe that this isn't just all there exists in the world. And it's impossible for them to open their mind and think outside of these shapes, these logos, these idols that they worship and they stare at all day, that are being brought back and forth in front of them. I'm up here like, hey guys, we need to go back in and we need to like try to rescue more of these people here. And sometimes I feel like, QUX for me, the QUX boxes and the network that's being built is a key. Okay? And I'm like offering the key. And I'm like going there and I'm like, I try to tell people, like, I'll go down in there and I'm like, hey guys, there's more. There's more to these social media ghettos. There's more to these iPhones and these Android phones and their technology and their system. There's more to what they're offering you. Let's leave. Let's get outside of their control. We don't have to be here staring at their idols. We don't have to be here watching what they want us to watch, watching their platforms, watching what they want us to see, where they control everything with their psychological operations, okay, on these social media platforms. I mean, they're the ones, the puppeteers, they're the ones controlling what's going on, right? And a lot of people are like, well, let's just wake the people up by walking down here. It's like, oh, walk over here and let's make shadows here, like finger shadows, to try to get the people to wake up, which, okay, that's a good idea. And I think that's what a lot of people have been doing, right? But I'm like, hey, let's just all leave. Let's go give all the people a key to their shackles and say, here's your key. You can unlock yourself and go out. And I'm hoping that more people will do that, essentially. I'm hoping. I mean, a lot of you are aware of what's going on, aware of this, but why stay inside the cave? You know, I think that there needs to be another level of awakening and realization that we need to be more independent. We need to get out of their cave. Okay, we need to get out to the world. There's a whole universe out there. There's a portal universe out there on QUX that you should be out there discovering. And we don't have to be inside their social media ghettos, their echo chambers where they have bots. I mean, we don't have to be inside the controlled grid. And they don't want you to get out of the grid. They want you to stay in there. They want you to be shackled next to people or just sitting next to people. Maybe you took your shackles off, but you're still sitting in there watching it for whatever reason. We need to get out of there. So, I mean, that is the whole point of QUX.TV. This is an area where people can control what's on this. This is the firebox, essentially. Like, you know how in this image it's got the fire? This is the fire that you all control. This is your own. You guys have your own world, your own universe here to create. It's outside of their control. It's outside of their system. It's a new net. I mean, it is the tippy top of technology when it comes to privacy, security, ensuring people are going to be able to have these private encrypted communications. You'll be able to put your content up without being worried that it's going to be taken down. QX is going to be moving to phones soon so that people can also have phones. I mean, this is a big deal. This is not some little thing. Like, it wasn't like, hey, yeah, it's no big deal. QX is just going to go out there and, you know, create technology that literally competes with Apple and all these other Android devices and phones. And, I mean, they're literally creating something that's next level. That's the answer. It's not some no big deal thing. It needs to be recognized and it needs to be supported because this is a really big deal. I think it's such a big deal that even some of the other conservative influencers, which many of them, I am very suspicious that many of these other conservative influencers are really just more of these people that hold the images in front of the flyer, right? Because if they weren't that, then they would be letting you know about the key. But why would they let you know about the key, the QX boxes, if this is their job and they actually benefit from it? Look, they're wearing nice clothes. They're making money. They're part of the in crowd. They're cool. They get perks and privileges. They have special liaisons at YouTube, at the YouTube creator services where they make sure that they don't get banned. I kid you not. I've heard at CPAC, look, before I got ousted by the conservatives for making Shadowgate, some of these people out there literally told me, yeah, I have special liaisons at YouTube that make sure I don't lose my account. So I just stay in communication with them, and there's certain things I won't touch, but it ensures I don't ever get banned. Several of these conservatives, okay? So to me, that means, all right, well, they're just making sure that they're staying in line with what the establishment wants so that they can maintain their position as the holder of one of these idols. Okay? See, they wanted me to be one of these. They wanted me to be one of these. But I was like, yeah, no. No, thank you. I don't want to be one of these. I want to let these people go because this is not the way human beings are supposed to live. I despise this system. I abhor it. Okay? So, why am I not surprised that some of these other conservatives don't want to talk about QUX, right? Many of these same conservatives that threw me under the bus after my arrest the day of Shadowgate's release. So, I mean, the question is it because that they don't want to lose their position, their status? Or is it also because what QUX has accomplished and done is actually such a big deal that you have your naysayers and your people out there that don't actually believe? They don't actually believe. So, I mean, which some of these people, like the ones in the shackles, you could hand them the key to the shackles and they'll be like, I don't really believe that's a key. I don't really believe that's going to let me out of my shackles. Or maybe they don't even want to get out of their shackles, right? So it's a complicated thing. But at the end of the day, when I meet my maker, I'm going to be able to say, I tried and I gave it my all. And I did the right thing. And I'm offering you the key. Whether you take it or not, that's your choice. So I know that at the end of the day, at least I tried. And to try is better than not to try. So at least I tried to help these people, and you can't help everyone. There always are going to be lemmings that walk off the cliff. Okay? And I know many of you guys are going to be the people that are literally walking out the cave with me, or already are outside of the cave. And that's why I talk a lot of times with you guys about, well, we need to start helping these people that are locked in Plato's cave. We need to help them out. We need to like wake them up. We need to figure out a way to save more souls from this fate. I mean, it's insane. But if you guys want to be part of the new Portal universe, where you don't have to be part of the controlled system, you don't have to engage in their controlled system where they spy on you, collect your data, everything else, then go to QUX.tv, okay? Go to QUX.tv and get yourself a QUX box, which then allows you to plug into the Portal universe, okay? Be part of the new net, the new Portal universe. We control our fate in the technological world at that point. I don't want to be reigned over by evil elites that have tech dominance. If we don't have our own tech, that is our fate. Either that or we're all going to be living like the Amish, okay? We're all going to be living like the Amish, which I don't hate the Amish, okay? I'm not knocking the Amish. The Amish are pretty great. I mean, they're not being affected by the gas prices these days, so there's something to that, okay? But also, there's something to wanting to compete and wanting to have technology and these tools that give human beings a serious advantage overall with education, information, everything else, right? But it becomes a hindrance, it becomes a curse when we only are having their devices, their technology, and they're using that to enslave and control our minds and control the masses and people. So that's when there's a problem. That is when there's a problem. Okay, so, all right, guys, I'm willing to, let me see if I could go to here on YouTube. My phone did die, but I'd like to be able to take some questions for you guys in a minute here. See if I can get this up and going. Yeah, my broadcast has been a little bit crazy today and disorganized, so I do apologize. I don't have a bunch of producers or people helping me. I'm really just flying solo today, running this whole thing by myself. So, let me see. Oop. There we go. All right. So here we go. Now I can see you guys on here. So if you guys have any questions about January 6th, have any things you guys want to talk about regarding Roe versus Wade, or even about QUX, go ahead and comment in the comment section. I'm looking at the comment section right now on YouTube. So that's where I'm going to be able to answer your questions right now. And that's just simply because right now at the second my phone died. So I can't access Twitch or Facebook on here as easily. All right. Someone said, I believe Hutchison. Trump punched through 8-inch bulletproof glass, overpowered Secret Service, yelled, I'm the Ultra MAGA King. Trump's a badass. That was funny. Okay. Okay, when are you free? I don't know what that means. When am I free? Okay, so someone said latest news on the girl who got shot on January 6th. So Ashley Babbitt, I mean, that's been a really interesting subject. I'm one of the people who I do believe that Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed on January 6th. I don't put it past the Democrats to have their security shoot and kill someone in order to push their narrative. I believe that she was murdered. I think that the security guard there, he was hiding off to the side with his gun, and you could tell she didn't even see him. He just pops out of nowhere and fires his gun at her, and she drops dead. I've heard some people amongst the right saying, oh, I think that Ashley Babbitt wasn't really killed. I think that it was all faked. I think that that's deliberate disinformation being injected into various conservative circles that are actually doing good investigative work, that are on to some things pertaining to January 6th. I think that oftentimes you see intelligence assets inject bad info into circles in order to discredit a person or a journalist or an investigator, in order to discredit all the other good information they have. So I'm very weary sometimes of these things that are just being pushed and promoted so hard and pushed by various people who I'm suspicious of being intelligence assets, because it doesn't serve a really good purpose, really. It doesn't serve a good purpose, and why would we have no evidence that really supports that Ashley Babbitt wasn't killed? Some people say, oh, well, because her body was cremated. Okay, people cremate bodies all the time. We do know that in the Capital Punishment documentary movie, which I was in, a bunch of other conservatives were in, we heard the interview with her husband and how emotionally distraught he was over the whole thing, how their dog died because the dog was literally like heartbroken and distraught over her dying. I think that it was just one of those things where you had literal agent provocateurs, agitators surrounding her, and she was like the bull and they were the matadors. And there was a part where you literally had an agitator who literally watched my documentary, Psyop the Steal. Watch Psyop the Steal. It's all spelled out in the documentary, Psyop the Steal. I'll put it up here for you guys on the screen. Psyop the Steal, right here on MillennialMillie.com. You can watch it for free. Watch Psyop the Steal. Spells out in the documentary. You literally have these agent provocateurs where one guy is literally holding 3 different hats in his hand. He's holding like a fluffy, furry hat. He's wearing a MAGA hat, or he's holding a MAGA hat, and he's holding a black helmet, which he can switch between the different hats to essentially play different roles and to make it harder for cameras and people to track him throughout his time there in the Capitol. But it's him that helps lift her up through the window. The guy who originally handed him the helmet was standing also off to the side, and you see them literally duck before the gun's fired. Okay? So it was almost like they're expecting it. So I believe that Ashley Babbitt was absolutely killed. I believe she was like war correspondent Michael Yon stated, they were the matador, she was the bull, and she took the cape. And then they shot and killed her, and they used it to be like, oh, somebody died because of Trump, right? And to blame it on Trump, and to get that really shocking thing here to turn it into, oh, it was an insurrection and not just protesters that ended up marching into the Capitol building. And remember, the Capitol building was closed because of COVID, and normally people can go into the Capitol. All right, so let's go to other questions. Somebody said, how do I get QX? Okay, so you just literally go to QX.tv, and that's as simple as that. You go to QX.tv. I'll show you. You go to shop. Okay. And add to cart. And you can apply a coupon code. If you want, you guys can use my coupon code, Millie, MILLIE, and you guys get a discount. You get like $15 off. So that is how you get a QX box right there. It's very simple. It's exciting stuff. All right, let's go to more questions here. Oop. Any other questions? Let's see. Bear with me as I'm plugging in my charger for this tablet. Oop. Oop. Somebody mentioned Sullivan was next to Ashley Babbitt and was recording and agitated. That's right. John Sullivan was literally, his video footage was one of the better angles of Ashley Babbitt being shot and killed. He was literally right there. He was agitating. He was encouraging people to continue going, continue moving, break through the windows, all of that. I mean, he was right there agitating. All right. Definitely. And yet it's crazy how the left-wing media has just fully supported him and been like, oh, no, he was just a camera guy. He broke windows. He was handing people and telling them, oh, I've got a weapon. I think he said, I got a knife. He was saying, let's burn this, you know what, down. Give me a break. He literally was posting, yeah, all my other Antifa comrades, come meet me here at the Washington Monument, which then they walked over to the Capitol. Okay, so he was planning and promoting and telling all of his other Antifa buddies to be there. I mean, it's disgusting that the media has gone along with this false narrative. Oh, he was just a camera guy. Why? Because it doesn't fit their narrative that there were Antifa there and BLM there that were instigating and taking place and part of this takeover of the Capitol. Do I still have ties with InfoWars? No, I do not. I do not still have ties with InfoWars at all. After I was arrested, Alex Jones said, bon voyage, Millie, and essentially fired me and stiffed me for half of the month of August pay. So, let me see. Yeah, why isn't anyone talking about the security guards who committed suicide just days after January 6th? That is very interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting. I mean, it's interesting how many suicides or mysterious deaths have been happening pertaining to Capitol Police or the Sergeant of Arms. It's all very peculiar. Yeah, so said Alex mentioned you a couple days ago, complimented you. Too bad he stiffed you. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't really watch his show, so I don't know if that's true or not. But that's great and all if he complimented me. I just really want to know why he never let me come on after my arrest to talk about Shadowgate and to talk about what happened with my arrest. That's what I want to know. And I bet a lot of you guys want to know that too. Do you and Caitlin Bennett still talk? No, me and Caitlin Bennett do not still talk. No. Like I said, if you guys remember, during my arrest, I was arrested. I was thrown in jail on a false arrest. They had literally no paperwork in hand. They changed the charges mid-event, mid-arrest, whatever. Like, as soon as I got there, they handed paperwork for one charge, only then later to have given me paperwork for another charge, all which backdated for a secret grand jury that happened months ago when there was COVID lockdowns and none of these hearings were even taking place because everything was shut down because of COVID. So, I mean, the whole thing was insane. I was literally taken to a Homeland Security Fusion Center jail. Look it up, okay? The jail I was taken to, Homeland Security Fusion Center, all right? I had very good sources contacting me afterward, letting me know what really happened, okay? High-level, big-name people. And it was literally the Democrat Party working with the MIC in order to arrest me because they believed that I had or was about to expose top secret information in Shadowgate. Then, when Shadowgate came out there and it was realized that no, there was no top secret information, like what? You think we'd be that stupid to do that? You really think we'd be that stupid? Conveniently, the whole thing was just dropped and went away. You know? They did it all under, they had a cover story, which was this all other baloney thing with my mom that they drudged up from literally months and months ago. I was literally being questioned in the holding jail cell by an officer that came in there and informed me that he worked for military and literally used Clear Force, the program I was exposing in Shadowgate, and starts talking to me all about Shadowgate and questioning me about Shadowgate. I was being questioned about Shadowgate. Why would they do that if that was just something with Millie's mom? No. Like, give me a freaking break, people. They tried to steal my children. They had CPS people, they had a foster family literally lined up to steal my children from me. You know what happens to these kids that get stolen and taken off to foster families? They usually end up dead or missing. Okay? I will never forget when I literally roll up to the mandatory CPS meeting at the county building that was literally directly across the street from the Democrat Party headquarters, okay? And I'm literally approached by the CPS ladies wearing Turning Portage, which is the county, blue t-shirts. And these are the ladies trying to steal my children from me. Literally, the only thing they were going on was the arrest, is why they were going to try to steal my children. Okay? They had no other reason, justification, anything. I mean, my kids are taken well care of. Well care. They're taken very good care of, okay? If anything, they're a little bit spoiled, okay? Like, they are definitely doted on. So, I mean, they had to have to come and, you know, the stress of just like, okay, now CPS people have to come tour my house and inspect my house. All that stuff I had to go through was just extremely stressful. Meanwhile, at the same time, I'm going through all that stress and trauma. I'm being attacked by people on the right who I thought were supposed to be my friends, who I thought were supposed to be people who cared about people being attacked and targeted, journalists being targeted for information they're putting out. But instead, they went along with the mainstream media's talking points. Instead, they sent people on an all-out character assassination campaign on me. Why? Like, okay, so say they actually believed that, you know, the mainstream media's talking points for the whole reason for the arrest. Say they actually believed that. And say that they were actually people who were my friends and associates. Do you think that they would just be like, let's all go cover it and throw Millie under the bus? What do they have to gain from that? Makes no sense, does it? But then when you realize who actually pissed off and actually touched on something that I unknowingly touched on in Shadowgate, that then becomes very apparent as to why they were all sent on these campaigns, these character assassination campaigns. Akbar. Ali Akbar, who now is literally one of the main people being investigated and having to testify for his involvement in the plotting and orchestration of what happened on January 6th. It's unbelievable. Okay, so Akbar waged a huge campaign, literally making up absolutely cockamamie bullshit claims and accusations that had no basis in reality. I mean, he was saying wild stuff. He was saying wild, like, she's running a satanic child cult in her basement. No. I was like, what the hell? Where did this come from? Are you kidding me? He even claimed that my arrest was faked. He said, look at the lighting. The lighting is off. She wasn't really arrested. The whole thing was staged. It was fake. It's like, what? Because it was all pretty damn real for me. My kids are traumatized from the whole thing. My son is now fearful of police. He sees them as bad. And you know what? I mean, I'd like to figure out a way to undo some of that. So if you guys know any good police officers that are good guys that would be willing to come sit down with a 7-year-old and teach him that you guys aren't all horrible mommy stealers, that would be great. But, you know, for the longest time, every time we'd see police or we drive by police, he would get scared. He would get angry because he thought they were going to come try to steal his mother again. Okay? So this whole thing caused my family a lot of trauma, a lot of issues. Caused me a lot of trauma. I was tortured, okay, in the jail. I was subjected to sleep deprivation, lights on all the time, banging on my door every hour, freezing cold air conditioning 24/7, to where literally the rooms in there, girls had tried to like paper mache toilet paper over the vent because they blast you with the air conditioning so bad. My privacy was violated. I was subjected to like the showers without shower curtains, having to shower literally in front of male security officers. I mean, it was disturbing. Disturbing. They literally, when you first get there, strip you down, throw some kind of powder delousing agent on your armpits and on your genitals, and then force you to shower off in some little tiny, almost like a little tiny spigot from a crappy bathroom of a shower with barely any water coming out cold. And meanwhile, they're telling me they've already taken my kids. That's what they're telling me. The CPS, they had me talk with the Department of Family Child Services, whatever, and they told me they took my kids. So the whole thing was very traumatic and traumatizing for me. Okay? And then to finally, like, I was completely oblivious to what was happening on the outside world, okay? Because I was stuck in a jail, cut off from everything. And only then to find out afterward, when I get out and see all these people on the conservative side that I thought were my friends, throwing me under the bus, not giving me a chance to speak or defend myself, and just basically being like, fuck you, Millie Weaver. It's literally what Gavin McInnes said. It was just really beyond messed up. So, sorry if I'm upset at these people for what they've done. I didn't ask for them to defend me. They didn't have to do any of that. But they didn't have to fucking attack me while I was being attacked by the deep state. That they didn't have to do. And that is why I'm very suspicious about what their motivations were. Absolutely. And I know, well, I'm pretty sure I have a really good opinion as to who put them up to it. And you guys all admire him as some great guy, some hero. What kind of hero gets offended over a documentary and attacks a mother and her kids? What kind of hero does that? Because they're offended by a documentary. because they didn't like what was in it. Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, sorry about that. You guys kind of asked some touchy questions. And no, I'm not friends with Caitlin Bennett, because Caitlin Bennett was one of the people that literally took the opportunity to stab me in the back while my whole world was crumbling and they were coming after my kids and trying to steal my kids from me. And she came out there and had the audacity to lie and try to say, Millie Weaver hangs out with pedophiles, which is complete horse shit. Okay? And to say that while they know that the CPS people are trying to think of any excuse and reason to steal my kids, yeah, it became personal real quick. Really quick, that became personal. Okay? You don't mess with people's kids like that. I would never wish that upon any of them. Never. In a million freaking years would I wish for Caitlin Bennett has a baby now. Never would I try to help. Oh yeah, I'm going to help put out false bullshit claims because I don't like you, because I want to take you out, or I feel like, you compete with me in some way, so I'm going to take you out. Or I was instructed to by someone, my superior, and I want to keep my job. Like, it's just dirty. Dirty, 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 in a million freaking years dirty. And I helped Caitlin Bennett get her job at InfoWars. None of them wanted her there. None of them wanted her there. And I vouched for her. I pushed for her. I tried to help her because at the time she had told me that her and Justin were broke. They had no money, and she was working at Applebee's being harassed by liberals every day at work. And Justin was recently fired from the NRA or something. That's what she was telling me. So I felt bad for her, and I wanted to help her, right? But that's how she repays me. Okay, cool. And like I said, I never asked any of them to defend me. I just didn't expect that they would all turn on me. That's what I didn't expect. So if you really want to know the people who turned on me, Alex Jones, Roger Stone, Ali Akbar, Caitlin Bennett, Tim Pool, Brandon Tatum, Elijah Schaefer, and I'm sure there are others out there. But yeah, they are the ones who turned on me at the flip of a switch. Any other questions, guys? Would you ever forgive her if she asked? I don't think she ever would ask. I mean, I'm a forgiving person, okay? I am a forgiving person. But you have to understand, if it were just attacking me, or if it were just like, if it wasn't something attached to my children, it wouldn't be so upsetting for me, if that makes any sense. But because it was attached to my children, which I literally love to death, okay? My children are my everything. So, and I'm hoping now that as a mom, Caitlin Bennett can respect that and see that that harm that she did and caused me. And yeah, it would be nice to get an apology from her, and it would be nice to get an apology from all of them that did this. But am I holding my breath? No, I'm not holding my breath. If you attack Barr, are you attacking your own lawyers? Get it? I don't get it. Okay, next question. Why are we talking about Hunter's laptop more? Why aren't we talking about his laptop more? What happened to the grand jury investigation? Well, that is a good question. Like, notice that the Democrats and the elite establishment, their kids, whatever, they can commit all the crimes of the world. They can literally have laptops show up with them committing crimes. And, oh well, nothing ever comes of it. That's how it works. Just like the judge who presided over my case for my arrest, literally days before, was arrested for a DUI. And the whole time she's like, do you know who I am? You can see the video out there. You're making a mistake. Don't you know who I am? Speaking this way to the police. And of course they let her go the very next day, and every single thing was dropped, and she spent 0 jail time, right? But it's because when you're part of them, you have protections and immunity. Like, it's like the law doesn't come down on you. Just like how you have all these January 6th people, old grandmas, whatever, random people that just walked into the Capitol. Some of them didn't even know that they weren't allowed in there because the people in front of them so far up were the ones that breached the gates. At that point, the gates were already open, so people follow in, didn't even know they weren't supposed to be there. Bunch of them are in jail, still rotting in jail in D.C. But John Sullivan, the guy who literally was instigating the whole time, smashing windows, saying, burn this you-know-what down, right there at the scene where Ashley Babbitt gets killed, was saying, go, 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 go through. I mean, as far as I know, they released him. And I went and videotaped and captured that right when he was released. And as far as I know, the guy's literally wandering around free. So it's just how it works. And the same thing goes with Hunter Biden. I mean, Joe Biden has even openly talked about how Hunter has drug problems. Hunter Biden has talked about how he has drug problems. And the guy commits all these crimes, and there's nothing done about it. It just points out the unequal protection and how the cabal has blanket immunity. Okay? Yeah, someone said they removed the fence after the first wave went through. Exactly. Okay? So people that didn't even know they weren't even supposed to be in there were charged, swatted, arrested. You had the SWAT team showing unreasonable amounts of force by swatting some of these people's homes in the middle of the night with their children. If you watch the documentary Capital Punishment, which I think you have to go like capitalpunishmentthemovie.com or something like that. I'm featured in it. They covered a lot of the stuff with my Sunrise Movement, but they also had a lot of stories of these families that were targeted just for being there at the Capitol, and their whole worlds being turned upside down and them being swatted in the middle of the night with their children being traumatized from the whole thing. It just, this is how they treat their enemies. It's how they treat their enemies. Okay, any other questions? Let's see. Someone said, Millie, stay real. Real, recognize real, stay strong. Thank you, Benny Blanco. Thank you. And I do appreciate the support from you guys. And I know I haven't been I kind of went a bit MIA. I did PSYOP the Steal. And then March 2021-ish, spring of 2021, I started doing a live show. And then I kind of went MIA. And like I said, I was dealing with health problems, migraines, and I was also dealing with the trauma from my arrest and all of that went along with it. Okay, so it's taken me a little bit to kind of get back up on my feet and to pick myself up and dust myself off from all the attacks and baloney I went through. And I think the reason why after my arrest and everything, I didn't just disappear was because I was so dedicated to the cause of exposing what happened with the Sunrise Movement and their plotting, and also dedicated to the cause of investigating the election fraud discrepancies, and that I just powered through for quite a while there. And then once things kind of slowed down, it all crept back up to me, and I was like, a lot of stuff I got to deal with. And so I've dealt with it for the most part, and I'm back and I'm chewing bubblegum and I'm kicking ass, okay? So thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And it's good to know that I have people in my corner. Who cares if these other sellout conservatives wanted to trash me and throw me under the bus? At least I have you guys in my corner, and that's what counts. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. I really do. Let's get to more questions. What does this say? There's so many questions, it's hard to see. Never seen a channel with over 100,000 subs not be monetized. That's right. My channel is not monetized. I've got, what, 450,000 people that subscribe to my channel because they want to see my content. Hardly any of you guys actually see my content or notifications. So if you're one of the people who saw this, well, you're the lucky one, because hardly any of you guys see it. So many times I'll see people commenting like, I haven't seen anything in months, and I've been posting for like quite a while now. And I mean, it's what they do. And when your channel's demonetized, they downrank you in all their algorithms to further shadow ban you. So that's part of the reason probably they want to demonetize me. But the whole reason they demonetized me was right after I did some videos where I was talking about COVID, and it was during when COVID first kicked off. I was talking about how they wanted to have vaccine passports and how they wanted to make vaccine mandates and vaccines mandatory. And they said that that was misinformation, and they banned me for that. Only later for that all to be true, vindicated. It's all been verified that that's the case. And they've never reinstated my account. So isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? So yeah, they've tried demonetizing me in many ways, not just YouTube. They shut down my PayPal. They've demonetized me on like Facebook, other things. I mean, I've been demonetized and cut off in a lot of ways from any financial support. So I'm really going this alone, and I really do rely on you guys a lot to help support me because, you know, I lost my support from InfoWars and Alex Jones, and I've been heavily demonetized. So, yeah, I rely on support from you guys. And that's why I'm always like, hey, guys, can you please support me on Subscribestar? Or you can support me on my website, MillennialMillie.com, by making a purchase and getting a shirt or a hat or a poster. And, you know, also recently I set up a Cash App. So you guys could support me on Cash App too if you'd like to. I'd really appreciate that. I know I've had some people recently support me on there and send me $10 here and there they said for coffee and just different things like that. To me, that actually makes like a really big difference, and it means a lot to me because it feels like, wow, I have people actually that care and they want to help support what I'm doing, and just, I don't know, little things like that really, they do mean a lot to me, okay? So if you could help support me, that'd be great. I'd appreciate it. I know things are tough right now in the economy, so if you're struggling out there, don't feel obligated by any means. But if there's, you know, a way you guys could help support, even if it's a little bit here and there, that would really mean a lot to me because I'm an independent journalist and I would like to keep it that way. I'd like to be able to keep going independent. I don't want to have to go work for another media organization. I know I have been doing my stream on Lindell TV, but really that's just, it's not like a paid gig or anything. I'm just giving him some content to put up on his thing. So support me at Subscribestar or Cash App. And the whole thing with this Cash App is it's something you can scan with your phone. So if you hold your phone up to that, that's how you access it or whatever. But you have to have the Cash App for that. So I don't know. But yeah, let's see. Any other questions, guys? I'd like to be able to, if I can get some more funds here, I'd like to be able to start doing the callers again, you know, with the call-in, but that stuff all costs money. As a conservative, what do you think of the trad movement? I don't really know that much about the trad movement, to be honest. I don't think that's something I've really been following that much. Let me see. What do you plan on covering next? Okay, so there's a couple different things I've been working on. I've got like a documentary or mini documentary, I would say, that is, I'd say 75-ish% done. It's all in the editing post stage, and it's very much about the backstory with QX and how it was attacked in the most insane way, like from bank activism, and it really goes into big tech, the data, the privacy, security stuff facing our nation and really the world right now, and the social credit score system. So it's very much like a tech documentary, but it also goes into QUX, and then it also goes into the banking system and how the bankers are engaging in bank activism in order to target companies, and then how that all, I mean, it's very interesting. So we've got that going on, and then we've also got, like we said, we've been in the works with Shadowgate 3 for quite a while, and that is mostly going to touch on targeted individuals, so people being targeted, right? So I did a bunch of interviews with people already, and a lot of that was actually when I was in DC, and various people who've all been targeted in very interesting different ways, including some exclusive interview with a family member that basically has recordings and never before seen heard recordings of information pertaining to Kennedy's assassination. Verifiable person in the recording that would know, essentially, and that was part of the whole thing. So, I mean, we've got some pretty big stuff we're working on as far as Shadowgate 3 goes. And then, of course, I want to get around to, and we've kind of started talking about and brainstorming and collecting and gathering all the materials for a documentary on what happened with my arrest, because we have a lot of evidence, we have a lot of information there. So I definitely want to do something pertaining to my arrest and how that whole thing went down. I've got never before seen videos and things that you guys would just be like, wow, over, okay? Some very wowable video footage, like literally exclusive video footage of me being arrested and stuff my brother captured with his phone when I was being arrested and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff there. Tons of projects that we've got going on at the same time. But the one that's going to come out the soonest is the big tech story behind QUX. That one's going to come out the soonest because it's more of like a mini documentary, if that makes sense. Some of these other ones, they're a bit bigger of projects that we've got going and working on. So, all right, any other questions? What are your thoughts on CERN and July 5th? Okay, if you have questions on CERN, you'll have to ask that when Gavin's present in one of these streams, because he's Mr. CERN. I don't really follow CERN too much. Can you make it a movie? Yeah, that's pretty much what it would be. The arrest. I mean, if you're saying the arrest to be a movie with like actors, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I mean, it would be very interesting, huh? To make it a movie with actors. That would require like a budget. That would require funds, which I don't have, guys. Clearly I don't have. And I don't see any like big pocket people wanting to come around and be like, yeah, sure, I'll risk my neck and I'll help support and fund a movie about basically what happened with Shadowgate and Millie Weaver's arrest. Maybe it'll happen. I don't know. Definitely. I would be very surprised. Very surprised. Although the stuff pertaining to, in Shadowgate 3, the stuff pertaining to like the whole thing surrounding the Kennedys and all that is like really bombshell. Huge stuff. Very bombshell. I originally thought I lost a lot of these interviews because I had a hard drive go bad. But then we actually found the original little SD drive that actually had the originals on it. So I was like, yes, because we were during our time periods in DC and all this other stuff, we had one of our hard drives just mysteriously get corrupted and go kaput, and it just so happened to be the hard drive that had that Kennedy interview on it. But we found the original SD drive, the SD stick, so or whatever, the SD card. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Yeah, where are the rich people at who want to save the world? Exactly. They're probably allowed to be rich because they, I don't know, want to go along with it. I don't know. I'm sure there are rich people out there that want to save the world, but they'd rather throw their money and spin their wheels on a bunch of people that just want to soak it up and go live luxurious lifestyles or something. I don't know. I know that like the Mercers threw like tens of millions of dollars apparently at like Milo, which rumor was that a lot of that got like blew on parties and cocaine orgies. I don't know. But where's the money at over here, guys? Like, no support over here. We've got tons of great documentaries, great content, things that we're working on and doing. So that's why I need your guys' support, because the establishment doesn't want to support me. Why? Because I want to go after the establishment that wants to push for their global agenda and their New World Order agenda, because screw that. Okay? I'm not okay with depopulation and all their other eugenics plans that they have. The poisoning, the dumbing down of the people. Nope, no thanks. We need a Millie poster. There is a Millie poster. There is a Millie poster at MillennialMillie.com, guys, which you can get, and I will sign an autograph for you. You could even be like, hey, can you make it out to someone in particular? And I will make it out to someone in particular. There is a Millennial Millie poster right here. Let me see if I'll show you it. Where is it? There we go. Right there. Drain the Swamp poster. That's supposed to be me, okay? I'm not sure if I look entirely like that, but I kind of do. If I have my remote, maybe I'll be like, let me see if I can pose for it. Wow. I'll pose for it. Wow. There you go. I'm posing for it. I have to have my microphone, which is my sword of truth, taking on the swamp, to drain the swamp. So there are posters at MillennialMillie.com, guys. You already have a Millie poster. But yeah, I mean, maybe I should do a poster with me on it instead of a cartoon version of me. That would be nice. That would be. That's a good idea. Let me see. Oh, that poor tentacle. Yes, that poor tentacle of the swamp creature, the DC swamp creature. Okay. Any other questions? It moves fast, so sometimes I miss people. Let me see if I can make a poster with you and your gun. That's an idea. That's a good idea. Is there a connection between eugenics and transhumanism? Oh, what? Message retracted. That was weird. Just deleted. Is there a connection? I mean, that's a good question. I know that there's like this transhumanist agenda to turn human beings into slaves or creatures without their own free will by either implanting chips in them, or like chips in their brain, or to inject them with some kind of nanotechnology or some way of, they also talk about loading consciousness into robots. So, I mean, I think that kind of goes hand in hand, and I don't know if it's necessarily eugenics in it, as more it's trying to subjugate a class of people, trying to create slaves, and whether they'll actually accomplish that, I don't know. That's why I'm all freaked out about Elon Musk's Neuralink. I'm freaked out about any type of like, oh, let's upgrade ourselves. Let's turn ourselves into a type of a cyborg in a way. I don't know about that. I wouldn't do any of that. Definitely not. No thanks. That could be bad. So, I mean, who knows what... They could definitely use technology and medical advancements in order to carry out eugenics, and I wouldn't be surprised if they try to convince people, oh yeah, this is all some new thing that you can benefit from technologically, and you could get all these new cool perks. It's like being upgraded, in order to convince people to do this, only then to have them all on some kind of control grid, essentially. I mean, who knows how advanced that could possibly be, but these are all things we need to look at in the future. And I'm more along the lines of let's stay organic, right? I'm a little bit of the, I'm gonna say I'm siding a little bit here with like the granola munching crowd. Like let's stay certified free range organic human beings. Let's see, any other questions? Any information on when Shadowgate 3 will be released? I can't give you guys a set date yet. And I definitely don't want to do that, especially since the Shadowgate 1 I was arrested in. But I don't want to give a set date for when that's going to be released yet. Where do I find Shadowgate or Stop the Steal? I've heard of about it a few times on your show, but I'm unfamiliar and I would like to know more. So you can watch Shadowgate and Psyop the Steal on my website, MillennialMillie.com. So I'll show you that. Let me just stop this thing from turning on. So yeah, a lot of the reason why, like a lot of people that take the effort to make these really exhaustive documentaries, they oftentimes charge you to go see them. Like even like 2000 Mules and other people will often charge you to go see the movies, which I'm not knocking that because I understand like people got to make money and stuff. But all of these documentaries that I've made are up for sale on my website to watch for free. And the reason why is because I feel that the information is so important to get out there. I don't want to keep people from having access to it just because they can't maybe pay to watch it per se. It's not something I'm trying to capitalize off of. I'm not trying to capitalize off of the information. I want to share the information. I want the information to go as far and wide as possible. So if you notice here on my website, Psyop the Steal, it got 234,000 views. This is the documentary about the January 6th, which you could watch for free, right? And that's why I just ask you guys for support, basically, in a way, donations, right? Because I want to ensure that this stuff remains available and stuff for everyone. I mean, that's not to say in the future, maybe I won't make a documentary where I have people pay. I don't know. But this is the model that I prefer for sure. So yeah, that's where you can watch it. You just click play, watch it right there. Psyop the Steal, MillennialMillie.com. You can also watch the Shadowgate film on here as well. Shadowgate was banned on a lot of different platforms. So if you notice on here, it only says 84,000 views. But that's because it was viewed mostly everywhere else and banned everywhere else. And then, like, on YouTube, it amassed over 3 million views before it was banned. And that was put up on Tori's channel because I was arrested, obviously. And then it also amassed over 3 million views alone on Band.video, which Alex Jones, after firing me, he had Caitlin Bennett do a hit piece video, and then he posted that video link in the description of the video Shadowgate, of her trashing me. And then he pulled Shadowgate from Band.video. So, I mean, a bunch of places where Shadowgate was posted online have been banned across various social medias. So the only place really to watch it, I think, is up on here, MillennialMillie.com. And I think somebody might have uploaded it to maybe Rumble or one of these other sites. I don't know. But for sure, you could watch it on MillennialMillie.com for free. Okay. Let's see if there's more questions. Have you spoken with Caitlin recently? You should be collaborating on occasion. Did you just hear what I said earlier? Maybe you're Johnny come lately. No, I've not spoken with Caitlin. Okay. Let's see. It's hard to, okay. I'm mostly going to look for question marks here, folks. Millie, can you get on True Social so I can share more of yourself around? Okay, so I just created a True Social account today. So, yes, I am on True Social now. I just created a True Social account. So, it's called Real Millie Weaver. And I haven't really posted much of anything because I literally created it right before coming and doing this show today. Because I've heard a couple of you guys saying, get on True Social, and I do listen to what you say, and I take your advice, okay? So, there it is. Real Millie Weaver on True Social, which I wrote one truth. That's it so far. I'm going to start writing more. I've been trying to figure out more people to follow and how this whole thing is. I guess it's pretty similar to Twitter, but yes, I decided I'm going to be on True Social too, because I'm guessing that's where a lot of people went throughout all the purges on social media. Okay. Okay. I'm like running my own switcher here, guys. I'm running my own switcher for my show. What is going on here? Oh, I can't even see the chat anymore. What is going on? What is going on? I can't see the chat. YouTube's being crazy. Okay, here we go. Okay, Millie, who are other journalists you would recommend? I don't know. I mean, it depends on what type of content you're interested in seeing. I don't know. Let me see. What exactly happened between you and InfoWars? I pretty much spelled it out earlier. If you want to rewatch this live, you can see earlier I talk about some of what happened with how I was arrested and then fired. I mean, I'm kind of also wondering what happened in a sense, you know? The whole thing is just really weird. Did any of these people who backstabbed you beg your forgiveness in privacy later? No. No. I would say that the only person who I really communicated in privacy later with was Alex a little bit. But I would not say it was begging for privacy or begging for forgiveness or anything by any means. Okay, so I'm slightly confused regarding Alex Jones crashing the women's rally before the January 6th rally. What was all that really about? So that was really crazy. So the best I can kind of make out from what all happened with that was that there was fighting going on between the Kramers and Alex Jones, like leading up to that. And as far as I can tell, which this is the thing, like the media has been trying to act like in their conspiracy theories about January 6th that Jones, Akbar, all them were somehow in league with the March for Trump people, with the Kramers, all that. And like all I saw was completely the opposite. There was actually a lot of fighting between them. It was almost like there was two warring factions going on. There was this, what was her name? Why is it slipping my... Cindy Chafin. Okay, so originally there was a permit, to my knowledge, that was for January 6th, and then they got moved. All these protest groups got kind of moved to January 5th, and you saw all the, like, the Freedom Plaza speeches and everything else. So I think the original people who had it were the Kramers for the March for America First, or whatever it was, the Women for America First. They originally had the permit there. And then the Trump campaign people, because they took over the spot for January 6th, they moved them all to the 5th. And then there was like an issue where it got haggled out, and somehow this Cindy Chafin lady ended up being given half of the time of the stage, and the Kramers with Women for America First were given half of the time for the stage on the 5th at Freedom Plaza. So if you notice, like, the first half of the day, that was the Kramers people, and then the second half of the day was Cindy Chafin's people. So the Kramers had people they chose to speak. Like, I was there speaking. There was a lot of different pastors. There was just like a bunch of other people speaking, right? People that were a little bit more I don't know, not as like flavorful, I guess. And then the second half is when Cindy Chafin had her people speaking. So in the very beginning, in the tent there, the VIP tent, you could see this change of scenery and crowd the minute this kind of shift took over between the time in which the Kramers had allotted to the time in which Cindy Chafin had allotted. That was when, under Cindy Chafin, she had Alex Jones speaking. She had Akbar speaking. She had Roger Stone. She had brought a bunch of those people. And so that was kind of weird and awkward to be in the tent with all of them. But in the tent, I actually did go up and talk to Roger Stone. And I said to him, I'm sorry if my film offended you, and I didn't intend for it to offend you. And he said, oh, yeah, no, it didn't offend me. It was a great film. But I knew that that's not really how he felt about it. So they had their speaking event, whatever, right? But leading up to that, there was also the day where there was the incident where apparently there was some fight that broke out between Alex and Kylie Kramer, where he like cussed her out and screamed and yelled at her, called her Miss Piggy and a bunch of names and things. And then there was like a fight over the stage. I believe that Akbar had informed Alex that that was supposed to be his stage and that the Kramers took it. And I'm talking about the stage that was out in front of the Supreme Court area, not the one for Freedom Plaza. And so the Kramers were like, no, this is our stage. And they had previously gotten in a huge spat with Alex. So what best I can make out is that Alex, under the direction of Akbar, because Akbar was filling his head with untruths, really, they decided to go and disrupt the speaking events there, and went and kind of heckled and shouted people down. And just so happened that I was there, which I think they probably enjoyed, because Akbar hated me and went on literally a big hit piece campaign on me after my arrest. Which, mind you, I did not even know who the heck. I didn't know him at all before my arrest. I mean, he literally popped out of nowhere and started doing hit pieces on me every single day after I was arrested over Shadowgate, making up wild accusations. So I really began to know him after I was arrested, and I'm like, who's this crazy person attacking me? Okay? So that's the best I can make out of what happened there, is that they were like going there to disrupt it and to be jerks, because there's infighting going on. There was a lot of infighting going on. Okay? So that's what happened. And maybe Alex did believe that that was supposed to be his stage, because that's apparently what Akbar had told him. So And I guess you could make someone mad and be like, you know, if you told them that was supposed to be their stage and maybe they gave you money for speaking events, to set up speaking events for you, and you're told that's your stage, but those people stole it from you, and then you get into a spat with the lady, right? Then you might be motivated to go do that, right? But to me, it just feels like Akbar thinks he's this little puppeteer that can just manipulate people and get them to do his bidding, right? They're asking all these questions. Millie, can't you take legal action against these people for making false claims? Wouldn't that be nice if there were actually lawyers who would help me? That would be great. I can't tell you how many times literally people have just slandered me or made false claims, or, I mean, even the whole false arrest thing with the state, right? Like, I've been screwed over so many times, and it's like I don't have the money to just file lawsuits against people anyone that makes up a lie against me, you know? And so that's why they do it, and they just keep getting away with doing it, right? Would it be worth it to sue Akbar and these people that made false claims? I don't know. I don't know really if Akbar has a much financially or any of that. I mean, it's one of those things where that's a really big deal. That means I got to be calling all these law firms and like, hey, you know, can you represent a case? And good luck, okay? Good luck is all I have to say. I mean, sure, once I get more people supporting me, maybe I could. But at the end of the day, I'm always free to just call it out. And I think that's the best thing. If I get myself wrapped up, because it's a lot of time and energy and effort that goes into things like that, if I get myself wrapped up with all that, it's a lot of my focus and energy going into that rather than doing my investigative reports and getting information out to people. There was a period in time where I was investigating over the false arrest, definitely, and wanting to sue the police and sue the county and sue them for what they did. And what I soon began to realize, a lot of the lawyers in the county in the area were very much like, nobody wants to sue the police, nobody wants to sue the county or the court or whatever for what they did. And they basically were like, well, you can indict a ham sandwich, right? And so the way that they did it with this shady grand jury process, it really made it hard to be able to sue them. So that's kind of what I was going on. And then there was also this other lawyer that was from Florida at the time that was like, oh, I'll help you. Yeah, you have a great case, all this stuff, right? And we spun our wheels with this guy for like 8 or 9 months, only then for later to be like, oh yeah, sorry, I can't help you. And I'm just like, what? So who knows if that was just somebody thrown our way, because, you know, the person did come up to me at CPAC and like, oh, hey. And I'm like, yeah, I feel like, you know, I don't know. Anyway, other questions. Blacked out. I have blacked out. What happened here? I lost my camera, guys. I'm sorry. The camera's gone. All right, so I guess that means the end of the feed here. I think my camera probably died here. It's like, you've been talking for way too long, lady. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. This was a great one. I hope I answered some of your guys' questions. I like doing these little off-the-cuff AMAs. They're really fun, and it gets me it helps me know you guys more, and it helps you guys know me more. So I don't mind doing them every once in a while. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Remember, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, check back at MillennialMillie.com, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And yes, sometimes I run a little bit late, okay, because things happen, craziness happens, technical issues happen. So today I did run a little bit behind, so I apologize for that. But yeah, check back for more Millennial Millie shows. Next show is going to be Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Please support me, support my work on Subscribestar. The new one I'm really liking is Cash App, so you can help support me on Cash App if you have Cash App, or by going to MillennialMillie.com, getting a hat or a shirt. Or they have these really cute pink Shadowgate hats. So they're nice quality hats too. So some pink hats here. You've got shirts, Drain the Swamp shirts, posters, all that good stuff, guys. So your purchases help support my ability to continue to do this work, do journalism. So thank you in advance for supporting me. All right, hope you enjoyed the show.